All right, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like I'm live. I'm going to wait for you guys to get the notification here. Not sure why, when you're looking at this later, not sure why this did not go live like it was supposed to. But now we're starting out. Let's see what happens here. Let me go over to the other channel and let people. There's Ron Frisbee. How you doing, Ron? You're the first one in the chat room. And not sure what happened to the premiere tonight, but let's just go live. And I'll do what I was doing before. Got the notification. Fantastic. That's good. All right, let me just go over to the other channel and make sure that everybody knows I'm live over here. So what are we? All right, let's go here. So everybody, if you're starting to filter in one at a time here, just hang tight while I let people that are already over in the premiere channel waiting for this to go live know that we're over here. All right, come on over. All right, let me get back to where I was. Hey, Kitten, how you doing? Let's let some people filter in here while this is going. You know, I'm starting to think I have some, not think, I know I've got some major computer problems, and it's something that's been plaguing my system here on my computer for a long time. I think my motherboard is starting to go, and it's doing an awful lot of shutting down on me involuntarily of its own will, it seems, and accord. And sometimes I've only had in all the shows I have done, the last couple of nights was the only time I've had any problems. Last Friday, was it, when the show, it was a week ago, the show came up upside down. No reason for that to have happened. No idea how it happened. Tonight, show is all lined up and premiered to go because I pre-recorded it a little earlier today. Not playing. I have no idea. Now, it's not on the YouTube end. It's on whatever uploaded from this end. So, yeah, I'm even looking at it right here, right now, on my computer, the actual file itself. It's just sitting right here on my computer that I uploaded this morning. And let's see. Let me take a quick look at it here. It's, yeah, it's right there. That's the file that uploaded this morning, but nothing showed up. So we were out of luck for the show. But good thing is I'm sitting right here. And so I thought, let's just take it live. Let's do what we're doing. John, good to see you. And we got Susie Q. Nice to see you. Mike Myers. Hey, I miss doing this. I can't do this when I'm doing the radio version. And by the way, you can go over to Odyssey Radio Network if you want to hear the actual version of the show that goes out to the radio and to Spreaker and iTunes and iHeartRadio and all the terrestrial stations with Odyssey. Just go over and you can hear the audio version at odysy1.com. Or join me here on the live stream, which nobody's going to be able to find out there now, but that's okay. It's just us. It's just like old times, folks. Kelly, good to see you. How old is my system? I bought this computer with all the bells and whistles. It's a Mac. It's an Apple. I've been on Apple since 1989. This is a MacBook Pro. I've been on this system since late 2013. So it's 6 years old now, which is like talking paleontology in computer terms, I realize. But I've kept this thing up to date. I just loaded the new system in about a month ago, the most up-to-date system. I got all the bells and whistles on this thing, but it's been giving me some problems. It gave me some monitor problems last year when I was out of town in Utah, and I took it in and had it fixed. And periodically, I get these warning screens. Black screen comes up. It says something like OP-OX or something, not something, whatever. I don't even know what they are. I keep hitting the send to Apple, send to customer care. I hear nothing back ever. And so just the last couple of weeks now, it has really started giving me problems. I mean, I touch my keyboard to type, and I'll hear a big zzz, and it crashes my system. Now, it wasn't doing the buzzing before, but it was quitting before. Last year, they warned me that my motherboard might be going. And so, you kind of knock on wood and you just let it go, and you're hoping you're not going to have any problems with it. Well, I think it's on its last legs. And so I could take it and get the motherboard repaired, but that's going to cost me damn near as close as a new laptop with Apple. So I started looking at a big desktop, and I think, again, cross your fingers for me if all goes well. I'm going to be getting a new system in here, a new an iMac Pro. So a big 27-inch desktop with all the bells, and it's everything I need and beyond for the kind of work that I do, plus the radio work and the editing and stuff like that. So there you go. That's what's going on with my system right now. And I appreciate that, Kelly. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. So if all works out right now, I should be getting that and early next week. So if you find something just as good, that's cool. I'd rather not buy used if I don't have to, but I'll take it if that's what I have to do. And so we'll see. I'll keep you apprised of what's going on. So, yeah, it might be my magnetic personality. That's it. Hey, Brianna, how you doing? Anton, how you doing? I've been recording because I can't really connect up the live stream here and the live stream for the radio, as far as I know. So I've been pre-recording, and I shoot off the audio files over to the radio station, and I load up the live stream here, or the live stream, the video files here, and they play at the same time. Sometimes you get a little more here than they get on the radio. Sometimes I've gone a few minutes over, but I got to stick in very strict 25 minutes for my first segment, and then I got to stick to 28.5 minutes for my second segment. And I have to do it in two segments because they put an ad block in between. I think the show doesn't even start on the radio until about 6 minutes or 7 minutes after. So it's always a little off sync. So that's the radio with commercials and station breaks and all of that kind of jazz built right into it. And that's why I do that. So when I pre-record my show, I actually have two programs running. I've got my audio program running, and I've got my video program running. And never the twain shall meet. So and then I upload, of course, the video here and so on. So that's how it works every day. Let's see. Anton says his HP is 10 years old, still working. Yeah, this thing right here is 6 going on 7 years old, and it's been working until recently. So I know Apple, they're more expensive. I've always had never really had bad problems with Apple. So yeah, HPs, they do the same thing. Doesn't matter. It's whatever you want to get on and use. And I've never been a PC guy, so that's the problem that I have. I'm just scrolling through because I don't get a chance to do this very often and say hi to everybody. Yeah, Mike Myers on the radio. This show, now I've always done my live stream, but I started over at Odyssey Radio back almost 2 months ago now. And that's why I went 5 days a week, even though it's kind of funny. I was doing my live streams every day, just like this, and I'd just hop on at 9 o'clock and I'd do my live streams. And I know Rocky Stucci and Jeff Dougherty and I, and now Professor Bauer, we were all kind of doing our own things. Rocky was on Mojo 50, which is owned by the same people as Odyssey One. And we all kind of agreed we'd come on at certain times of the day. That was all through Jeff Dougherty. He announced, I think I'm going to come on at 8 o'clock at night because so-and-so's on at 7. Scotty can take 9 o'clock. like I'd been doing Rocky at 11 o'clock. And so we kind of worked that all out. And now, it's kind of gone to the wind a little bit. But over at the radio station, we've all got our time slots over there. Our live streams are just kind of whatever we want to do whenever we want to do it. So, and we work, we have courtesy for each other. This circle of friends, we've been doing radio together in one form or another for several years. And so we always try to make sure we're not stepping on people's time slots or stepping on people's toes. We're considerate of each other. And that's the way it's always worked well for us as a group of friends. And so, and we have fun doing it. So yes, Mike, the long answer to your short question. Intrepid radio program is on the radio. And I don't know how many terrestrial stations this show is on, but it broadcasts to Odyssey broadcasts to 26 different terrestrial stations, mostly in the Southeast, if I'm not mistaken. We've got all the, like I mentioned, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, all those different outlets pick up the show. Just so you know, little inside business. Not giving away any secrets here. But this show where you see, on average, right now it tells me I have 17 viewers. But as soon as I'm off of a show, I already have 70 views. So there's a lot of people that sit in the wings that don't come into the chat room and they watch the show. So there are a lot of people out there that don't watch it. Where it says 17, my shows have been averaging over the last 6 months, 200 people view the videos, give or take. And so that seems really low. And so I was wondering, and I asked early last week, I said, what are my numbers over on the radio? And I was told that this show gets between 4,000 and 5,000 listeners every night. And so that's pretty cool. But that's not being reflected in this chat room. Let's see, where would it be if you're looking at me? Is it over here or is it over here? I don't know. So that's not so much reflected in the chat room. But it and there's my wife. Come over here. No. Yeah, we're going live. So Rainey walked in the room. So did my little girl. Here, get down so Mama can see, and then I'll pick you up later. There's my beautiful wife. There's Rainey. And there's Ellery.
Say hi.
Say hi. Time for bed. Lucky you.
Yeah, let's go to bed.
Yep.
Yeah. Last one upstairs was a smelly butt.
There you go. It's the truth because Mom said it. There's Rowan. Good night, Ro. That's my 7-year-old.
I love you, Daddy.
I love you too.
Last one upstairs.
And I love you too. Good night.
Good night.
So there you go. That's part of the family anyway. Flynn, my 10-year-old boy, he's off doing something. I don't know what. Oh, I see my bunny rabbit has fallen. There you go. There he is. All right. So, Brianna says it's under me. I missed something somewhere. What's under me? Looking through. Anyway, I was talking about numbers, just to let you know. I appreciate you here, and don't let this be a reflection of anything. When I say it's nice to have numbers, because it's nice to know you got people watching what you're doing. You guys, 20 of you, 30 of you that are my faithful friends and my viewers, and you've been here since the beginning. It's great having you. And it's also great to know that I can spread the word a little bit and that the show is worthwhile. And, if it was only you 20 to 30 people, I'd still be doing it. I mean, I've been doing this for a year now. So most of you came along, I don't know. Some of you have been here forever. Some of you were watching Rocky and I on the Situation Room, older incarnations of what Rocky and I did. Anybody here, by show of hands, were you ever here for the old Situation Room, which ended about three and a half years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, where it was John Ward, Rocky Stucci, and me, the three of us, doing the Situation Room? Anybody remember that? Anybody on there? Hey, there's Rocky Stucci. How you doing, brother? Yes, exactly. Quality over quantity. And so Rocky was there. Anybody else remember that show? We ran John Ward and I. Now, you know, my show now is the Intrepid radio program. Well, John Ward and I did the Intrepid radio program. We launched in 2013, and I want to say we took that show up to 2016. We did almost 3.5 years with the Intrepid radio program. It was a Sunday night show. John would be over on his dahabeah, floating on the Nile River in Egypt at their dig site, and I would be here. Then when Rocky and I and John started doing the Situation Room, same thing. John was over there in Egypt half the year. Then he was in Sweden part of the year. Then he was here. They lived here in Minnesota for a while, and we all got together once a week and did our show from there. So videos from that era, not on, I don't have any here. Rocky has most of those. He posts some of them every now and then. Posts great comic clips from that. That was a great time when the three of us would get together. So I'll get a link and I'll post a link. Rocky, if you're still out there and you've got a link where people can find some of our old shows for the Situation Room, that would be phenomenal. So thank you, Ron. And so there we are. That's why we're here tonight. Now, I can still talk about what the topic was supposed to be tonight, or you can go back and you can hear all that over on the Odyssey radio show. You can click that on and catch it now while it's still live, or you can catch it in the archives over there. You can go to, I know you can go to iHeartRadio and you can catch all the back. You just look up the Intrepid Radio Show program with Scotty Roberts, and you'll find that over there, and you can see all the back stuff. I've even got some of my old show from 10 and 11 years ago that I found some active links still working. I don't even have copies of those shows anymore, but I do have copies. If you go over, by the way, if you didn't know this, there is a main site that I have, and I usually have the scroll bar down when I'm doing the video. But if you go over to intrepidradio.com and scroll down, you're going to see a lot of the old shows. Unless, when I trimmed all that whole site up, I think a lot of those old shows aren't showing in the archives right now. But you can go take a look. intrepidradio.com. And Rocky will find them. They're in deep in our FB timeline. Or you go to EBN Talk Radio, podbean.com. And you can click on the sit room. You can hear some of the old shows. I got to tell you, Rocky, if the same thing happens to you, I listen to some of our old shows, and they crack me up. We're dealing with heavy-duty geopolitics, world politics, local politics, and managing to be fill it with comic relief and have a great time with the show. So the old Situation Room was very successful. And so now that's the moniker that Rocky's taken on. And there you go with that. All right. Hilarious material, says Rocky. Hell yeah. And Rocky pulled a Saturday show and got everyone crying. Yeah, that's Rocky for you. The emotional meatball. So, and by the way, Rocky and I will be on tonight after this show. Not immediately after, about an hour after I'm usually done. And so at 11 p.m. Central Standard Time or midnight Eastern Time, which is actually Friday morning, midnight Eastern. It'll be our Friday show, Rocky Stucci's Situation Room. Find it right here at Rocky Stucci Media and listen to tonight's show at 11 o'clock Central at midnight Eastern. And that would be really 10 o'clock Mountain Time, 9 o'clock Left Coast Time. So tune us in tonight. And that's coming up after this show. So I think that's all the kind of businessy stuff I got to talk about. I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about what I was actually had pre-recorded for this show for tonight. And I was going to wrap up that whole thing with the impeachment stuff. I'm going to go through the calendar. Remember how I said yesterday, this whole impeachment thing is like a layered cake. It's just layer after layer after layer after layer that's been going on since before the day Trump even stepped into the office, before he took the oath. And I'm seeing things even tonight. I hear stuff on the news, and it's so negative. Even the station up here, which is supposed to be really affiliated with Fox News, you would think they might be a little more conservative. Even that station, everybody is just so down in the mouth about all this. It's about, and Trump tried to cover his butt with, well, at least they might have said that. They might as well have said that. And he did it again tonight. He called on Russia and China to take down Biden. And so people are saying the thing that they're supposedly wanting to impeach him for now, they're saying, oh, and Trump did it again this afternoon in a press conference where he openly, only this time, he openly asked Russia to help him investigate, or Ukraine and China help him investigate the Bidens. And I said, well, if that's what he did, that's not doing anything wrong. That's the problem. What's he doing again? It's the way they paint the picture. It's what they want to lead you to believe. And some of them, I don't think they even know they're doing it, because this came across just in the news. They're just talking about it. And yet they try to make it sound like it's something worse than it is, more egregious than it is. Oh, and Trump claims that it was perfect. The way he talked to Russian president or Ukrainian president was perfect. And you know, they always throw in those, he claimed that, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, is all they're not saying. So this stuff just goes on and on and on. And it's going to go on, because you know what this is? It's trying to distract the public from the upcoming elections and the fact that the Democrats cannot beat Trump next year in the general elections. I don't care what anybody tells you. The numbers are there. The attitude shift is there. What they're working on trying to do, Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler and the lot, they're trying to work the general public, the citizenry of the United States, into not thinking for themselves, not digging too deep and listening to what they say. They're trying to shift public sentiment against Trump, which is what they've been doing since day one. But now they think that they found something to hang their hats on. And so they're going to try even harder. And that's the problem. Yeah, the left is out of control. And if you notice, and I mentioned this, I don't know if it was when I pre-recorded today or if it was last night, I made this statement. I said, you know what? I said, I have said to some of my leftist, my Democrat friends, I asked them, what is the Democratic Party offering us? Why should I vote Democrat in the next election? Please tell me why. And I told them, look, I'm an independent. I said, you convince me that your message is strong and meaningful, and it's new, and it's aimed at the people of this country to help better this country, not to give everybody free stuff. I'm not talking socialism. I'm talking, tell me what your party is going to do to offer something better than what Trump is doing or the Republicans are doing. And they can't. I said, you convince me that you've got a better message, maybe you'll win me over. I said, but you've got a lot of work to do to convince me, because what's their whole message right now? Their whole message is take down the orange turd in the Oval Office. That's their whole message. You tell me what they've got beyond that. That or a very socialistic agenda, where everybody's promising you everything plus the kitchen sink. Everything's free. Everything's for you. College is free. Tuition's free. Medical is free. Dental is free. Cars are free. Internet is free. Everything is free. And the big question is, who pays for all that? I'm sorry that's become so cliche, but the left hasn't answered who's paying for that. And if they tell you you are and we all are, we're all mucking in together and making that work, you know what that is? That's socialism. And all communism is socialism with a gun at your head. So this is what's going on. There ain't no new message out there, folks. The whole message of the left is dump Trump. The whole message of the left is Trump is ruining our country. Well, please tell me how he's ruining our country. And please tell me, I'm wondering why these reporters and all these news conferences you see don't pin any of these people down when they make their statements they make. And I don't know why the reporters aren't saying, hey, what do you mean by that? Could you please detail that for me? When they say Trump will destroy the country, he's destroying the country. Well, I got a question over here. How is he destroying the country? Could you please give us some details? Give us 3 bullet points. How's he destroying the country? Well, he's a racist. Well, no, he's not. Okay, next. And on it goes. And you know what I mean. And it gets really tiring. So when you start doing a little examination of what has led us to this, you're going to find that I think it's no less than 9 times in the last 3 years, there has been a move by the Democrats to file for impeachment. Did you know that? You know how many times that's happened? I've got some information here, and I was reading this, and I only got up to June of 2017 last night, in last night's show. But I was and I'm not going to recap it all because it's too much information. But I took us all the way back to before Donald Trump stepped into the Oval Office in January 20th of 2017. And I've gone by the dates, and I've gone up and shown everything that's gone on along the way. Let's look at some of this. In June of 2017, that's how far up we had come. By the way, it was Representative Al Green, a Democrat from Texas, that started this whole process rolling back when Trump took office. So former FBI Director James Comey agreed in June of 2017 to testify before the Senate Intelligence Committee on June 8th. And some legal experts and politicians, such as Representative Eric Swalwell of California, argued that Trump's numerous comments in news interviews and on Twitter regarding the subjects Comey would testify on, such as whether or not Trump tried to improperly influence or coerce Comey and the reasons why Trump fired him and all of that stuff, may well have voided the validity of an executive privilege claim in that instance. And so on June 7th, an advance copy of Comey's prepared congressional testimony was submitted to the Senate Intelligence Committee, in which Comey said the president attempted to persuade him to let go of any investigation into Michael Flynn, who, by the way, got the royal shaft, Michael Flynn. He had the sad position of being amongst the first in all of this. And that's why the hammer came down so hard on him. And he added that Trump had requested his personal loyalty, to which Comey replied he could give his honest loyalty to the president. And so Comey said Trump on several occasions inquired whether there was an investigation into the president himself, and Comey replied each time that there wasn't. Comey states that Trump requested that he publicly make a declaration of this so that Trump's image could be improved. But Comey said he told the president he would need to have approval from the Attorney General's office for reasons of legality. Now, keep in mind, this is what Comey said. This is what Comey said he said. This is what Comey attested to himself saying he said. So you can put some stock in that once you see where Comey has come since then. You get the idea. June 7th, the same year, 2017, Congressman Al Green announced that Congressman Brad Sherman would join with him in drafting new articles of impeachment against President Trump. And on June 12th, Sherman began circulating an article of impeachment among his colleagues. Sherman said, "I'm not going to be deterred." And Green stated, "In the spirit of keeping the republic, I have concluded that the president has obstructed justice, and in so doing, the remedy for obstruction of justice is impeachment. The president will not be indicted while he's in office and while there is some merit in talking about the judicial process. The impeachment process is the one that will bring him before the bar of justice." And so on and on and on this stuff, it keeps going. And you know what's interesting about all of this stuff to me is that all the time and effort, and there's still a ton more to go through, all the stuff that these guys have done, the Democrats have done to try to bring down President Trump, none of them have worked. And it's all come down to whether or not they felt they had a majority in the House of Representatives to be able to vote for impeachment. And they didn't. Most of these votes were coming back in the high 200s and 300s against 20 or 30 or 50 Democrats that were trying to pull for impeachment. They knew they didn't have the numbers. They needed to win the House so they could, and of course, in the midterms, and they all took office earlier this year, those midterms were what they needed to win to have a majority in the House so they could vote on impeachment, no matter what. There's that old quote of Gerald Ford's where he said, "An impeachable offense is whatever a majority of the House of Representatives considers it to be at any given moment in history." And that's the damn truth of it all. It's whatever they feel it is, because you don't need to prove your case to impeach. All they need is a majority of the vote. Now, I believe they need a 2/3 majority, or they're asking it's either a supermajority or a simple majority. And I can't remember what we've got right now. I think they have gone up to, how many members are in the House again? Hang on, if everybody knows that, rattle that off for me real quick. House of Representatives number. I probably did that the wrong way. There's 435 members of the House of Representatives. And right now, out of those 435 members, there are about, there was 150. And then after Pelosi stood behind the impeachment thing the other day, that jumped up to around 200. So there's about 200 to 225 Democrats that are going to vote along party lines for impeachment. It doesn't matter what. They don't need to prove anything. They could go have that vote yesterday afternoon. All they need to do is have a majority of the vote for it. And as I stated in the show last night, and the night before, all impeachment is you're setting, in a sense, a formal indictment of the sitting president. Doesn't lose his job. He keeps his duties still going. But what happens next? It goes to the Senate to vote on whether or not it's going to go to trial and whether or not they will or will not remove him on the basis of the impeachment. And I can tell you something. The Democrats have so pushed this along party lines. What do you think the Republican response is going to be in the Senate? Thank you for playing. And they nix the whole deal. And it's dead in the water. It's done. And so in the meantime, what happens to Trump's presidency and the things he's doing and the things he's working on? How does a foreign leader, do you suppose right now, China, we're in a trade war with China right now. Trump has been negotiating, trying to get that worked out. You've got North Korea. You've got these different things that Trump has going on. How do you think they view President Trump right now in light of what the Democrats are doing in the House, possibly impeaching him? How do you think they view, we'll just hold off. We'll hold off to see what happens with Trump so nothing gets done. And so it's causing a problem. let's see. Barry says it's just going to be a time-consuming fight between the parties. Yeah, that's what it's going to be. And of course, I believe, I'll double check this. I believe the Senate can vote whether or not they're going to let it go to trial or they're going to just permanently table it. So if they don't go to trial, if Trump is impeached in the House along party lines by the Democrats and it goes to the Senate, I don't know if it goes to automatic trial or if it goes to the Senate saying, yeah, we'll vote as to whether or not we're going to go to trial. And, but I think, and I've seen many things being mentioned that this is the strategy of Trump, because what he's going to be able to do if this goes to trial, if they impeach him and he goes to trial, it will open up the floodgates for him to present, to call any witness he wants, anything. This thing is going to go on for a long, long time. Why do you think AG William Barr has been conducting the investigations on all the stuff that's led up to the Russia hoax, all the stuff behind the scenes? Because I can tell you what, an impeachment of Trump, and either the Democrats are too stupid to figure this out, the ones in charge at least, are too stupid to figure this out, or there's something we're missing in the process here. But by impeaching Trump, they will be shooting themselves in the foot, because it's going to open up the doors for Trump to build his defense, and his defense is going to be built. And who do you think is going to adjudicate that? Who's going to be responsible for the vote? The Senate, the Republicans in the Senate. So the left is going to have to come up with some pretty damning real evidence of real wrongdoing, other than we don't like him and we don't like his style. And that's what they've been doing all the way along. Yeah, the House has been on vacation. They have no platform right now. Exactly, Susie Q. Yeah, they're scared shitless that Trump will get a second term. Or it's all a game to keep people interested in politics. I have to say, Shane, I don't think anybody... interest in politics? Probably not. But I think they're scared shitless. And they're trying to convince people. Why do you think Adam Schiff got up there last week and made up that story he made up? People go, oh, you camp on that too much. You know what? You can't camp on that enough. They're supposedly wanting to take Trump down because they believe Trump has lied and Trump has made shit up. And that Trump has, he was trying to take down a political opponent with his call to the Ukrainian president, which is all, depending on which ideological side of that argument you're on, you're going to see it a different way. But I see it for what it was. It was pretty harmless as far as what they're saying he did. But all of that stuff, you think Schiff should be given a free pass on what he did last week? So, yeah, all of this stuff is just ridiculous. And after a while, it gets old. Yeah, there's so much more than that. You're right, Brianna. It's just up to the eyeballs. Now, I'm going to go back in. Let's hit this timeline again. In July of 2017, it was Congressman Sherman formally introduced in the House of Representatives an article of impeachment again, H-Res 438, accusing the president of obstructing and impeding the investigation of justice regarding the investigation of Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. And now the Democrats in the House Judiciary Committee demanded that the hearing begin as soon as possible, but the Republicans demurred, writing the request in favor of investigations into Hillary Clinton's emails. So now move us up to August to November of 2017, 2 years ago now. Following controversial comments by Trump, they could put that almost in front of everything, about the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. Representatives, you remember that incident? Where everybody started saying, oh, he's pro-white supremacist. That's because that's what they wanted to see. And they took it out of context. I was there. I heard it. I'm not so dumb, and I don't need Trump to be president so bad that I'm going to lie for him or see things as a lie or look through Trump-colored glasses. If Trump was doing wrong, you'd hear me calling him out for it. But these people announced that they would introduce articles of impeachment because Trump had failed the presidential test of moral leadership. Think about that. The Democrats said Trump has failed the presidential test of moral leadership and therefore should be impeached. And so they introduced Steve Cohen. By the way, Steve Cohen, the bald guy with the long hair in the back and the glasses, he's the one that sat eating fried chicken during the judicial hearings because he was mocking everybody on the right. And so that's the guy who introduced it. So there was a brief debate about impeaching the president before a privileged resolution introduced by Representative Al Green again. And that was withdrawn. In late October, progressive activist hedge fund manager Tom Steyer funded an impeachment campaign that drew up to eventually over several months 6.5 million signatures. And on November 6th, 6 Democrats, including Cohen, introduced H-Res 621 with 5 articles of impeachment. There you go. There's more layers on the cake. Cohen said that Trump's train of injuries to our Constitution must be brought to an end. The 5 accusations were obstruction of justice, violation of the Foreign Emoluments Clause, violation of the Domestic Emoluments Clause, undermining the independence of the federal judiciary, and undermining the freedom of the press. And many, many, many Democrats even opposed that action. So those were 5 articles of impeachment brought up. So a survey showed nearly 40% of American citizens were in favor of impeachment, up from 30 in February. Now, let me say something about that. These polls that people take, you look at it, they'll normally say in the small print, you go find any one of these you want, based on a sampling of 2,000 people or 2,800 people or 1,200 people or 3,000 people, whatever. You rarely get up into the 3,000s. And so all of these polls are taken as a representation of the split in the answers you get off of, let's use the median number, 2,000 people, which is supposed to be representative of how, 63 million people vote? How 130 million people, 364 million citizens of the country are supposedly thinking out of 2,000? What is the percentage point of that? 0.0000000.1% or less of the nation thinks that way or actually took that poll. So it becomes ridiculous when you say, 40% of Americans favor impeachment. No, 40% of the 2,000 people you surveyed out of 364 million citizens. That's quite a difference, quite a gap. So December 2017, January 2018, the House votes. On December 6th, a second privilege resolution on articles of impeachment, H-Res 646, was brought on the floor by Representative Al Green, Democrat from Texas, again. And the resolution listed 2 articles, reasons for impeachment: associating the presidency with white nationalism, neo-Nazism and hatred, and inciting hatred and hostility. These are the 2 articles of impeachment by Al Green this time. And among Republicans, 238 of them voted to table the articles of impeachment, and 1 did not vote. Among the Democrats, 126 voted to table the articles of impeachment, and 58 voted against tabling them. So you pretty much had 58 people out of 425 that voted to have the articles of impeachment voted for positively. So this goes on and on. The 2018 midterm elections come along now. The matter became an issue primarily for Republicans in the midterm elections, with both conservatives and the president himself warning of dire consequences if he's impeached. Now, that wasn't a threat. It was laying out the facts. Here's what's going to happen. These are the dire consequences that will come if you impeach the president. And the Democrats won control of the House. And they promised to launch investigations into various actions by President Trump and his administration. But Democratic leaders were reported as reluctant to address impeachment, at least until after the report of the special counsel. How many times did I hear over last year, earlier this year, oh, wait, you just wait until the Mueller report comes out. Trump is going to prison. And so after the 2018 midterm elections, on March 11th of this year, Nancy Pelosi said, I'm not for impeachment. Impeachment is so divisive to the country that unless there's something so compelling and overwhelming and bipartisan, I don't think we should go down that path because it divides the country. And he's just not worth it, she said. No, I don't think he is. I mean, ethically unfit, intellectually unfit, curiosity-wise unfit. No, I don't mean he's fit to be president of the United States. I don't think he's fit to be president of the United States. Nancy Pelosi in March of this year. She then scolded herself for coming across too negatively. With the Democrats in control of the House, with a direct impeachment inquiry deemed somewhat toxic, the work of investigations into Trump's possible crimes were divided into several committees while waiting for some outside force, such as the Mueller probe or the Southern District, to force Democratic leaders. Now, before I get into this next little section of history of how this all came about, think of that. Look at what came down the pike. Everything Trump has done has been something the left has attempted to discredit. There has been an attempt to delegitimize the presidency of Donald Trump since day one. And they're continuing to go on. And you look now, let me put it to you this way. Listen to this for a second. If the Democrats came and made an accusation against President Trump and said, we think this is impeach-worthy, and they filed papers for impeachment, filed a resolution, that's one thing. If they have spent the last 3 years since before he even took the oath of office trying to find every and anything along the way to impeach this president, to delegitimize his presidency, to take down his presidency, to call him a traitor, to call him unconstitutional, all these things, countless. I mean, we're through about half of the list here. And you see how many times they filed impeachment up to the end of 2018. Absolutely ridiculous. And how many times they've tried to delegitimize what he says and does, and the power of his presidency. When you've got that as a history behind you, and then you say, hey, we've got this thing now that we're going to impeach him for, because we're interpreting what he said on a phone call as being unconstitutional. I'm like, my eyes start to glaze over. What again? Okay, next. Declaring that there's a problem you find with the president that you think is worthy of impeachment versus saying, we've been trying to do this now at least 15 times in the last 3 years and nothing has stuck, but we think we'll make this one stick now. That's a very different view. Now, listen to this. The hearings and the investigations, December of 2018 through February of 2019. In December of 2018, the ranking members of the House Judiciary Committee and Oversight Committees placed job listings in search of experienced lawyers to aid in the investigation of Trump and his administration. January 2nd of this year, Speaker-designate Nancy Pelosi, in an interview with today's Savannah Guthrie, refuses to rule out an impeachment inquiry. January 3rd, the new Democratic Congress convenes. Jerry Nadler takes over the House Judiciary Committee as chairman. He stated that he'll file another resolution and its subsidiary subpoenas for inquiries relating to possible criminal charges associated with the Stormy Daniels affair and the conspiracy convictions of Michael Cohen that were related to it. So H-Res 13, the first of several impeachment resolutions, is introduced into the House by Representative Brad Sherman. So now January 13, in response to Trump's public statements about Michael Cohen, Representatives Elijah Cummings and Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler issue a joint statement warning Trump against interfering in the upcoming Cohen hearings, saying, "Our nation's laws prohibitive for efforts to discourage, intimidate, or otherwise pressure a witness not to provide testimony to Congress." So in essence, you got Cummings, Schiff, and Nadler all going, "Donald Trump, don't you dare try to interfere with this witness." And of course, they make that all public, like, "And we, American public, have to remind the president that he's not supposed to intimidate a possible witness." It was such bullshit again. Bullshit over bullshit to the 10th power. So, January 16th, all right, same year, this year, the Inspector General of the GSA issues a report declaring that the president may have violated the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution and chastised the lawyers in the case for refusing to consider the possibility. This, of course, was saying that as president, he had some profit from one of his hotels that put up foreign dignitaries, and therefore it was a violation of the Constitution, and so on. Trump talked all through that. Everybody knows it wasn't the way they were trying to characterize it. So, February 4th, H-Res 13 is referred to the subcommittee on the Constitution, Civil Rights, and Civil Justice. February 8th of this year, Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker testifies before the House Judiciary Committee, primarily on the subject of the Mueller investigation and possible attempts to stop it. February 26th, former Trump attorney Michael Cohen, who was already going to do prison time for lying to Congress, testifies in private before the Senate Intelligence Committee to correct the record on possible compromat which the Russians might have on the president. Whitaker is invited to return to testify and possibly correct the record. February 27th are the Michael Cohen hearings. And we all know what Michael Cohen did, what he said, what he didn't say. He's there to go to the House Oversight Committee on possible high crimes and misdemeanors committed by President Trump, both prior to and after taking the office. And his testimony occurred under oath, which means additional criminal charges of perjury could be filed if it was proven that he lied. And in his opening remarks, obtained in advance by the New York Times, Cohen expresses his regret and shame. Oh, the shame at lying to Congress and working for a racist and a con man. And he accuses Trump of numerous lies and illegal actions. The White House officials dismissed the credibility of his testimony in advance, calling him a disgraced felon and a convicted liar. So during his testimony, and I've heard great attorneys get on television, the talking heads, some people you'd recognize that were saying that they never should have had Cohen testify because he's already a convicted liar. And where did he lie? He perjured himself to Congress. And so he said, nothing this man says should be taken with an ounce of credibility. So during his testimony, Cohen described how he protected Trump from various scandals, the monies he took in, how Trump wanted to buy the Buffalo Bills. He showed a check for $35,000, which the president wrote to him on August 1st of 2017, but Cohen stated that it was to be used as part of hush money payoff to Stormy Daniels. Well, the testimony implicated the president as committing a minimum of 11 impeachable offenses, if Cohen was to be believed. 11, only 11. So now, let's go to the hearings and the investigations. I want you to see this. February through April of 2019. February 28th, Cohen testifies in private with the House Intelligence Committee. March 3rd, the House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler announces requests for over 60 documents from the White House and other sources in his oversight investigations. March 4th, the House Judiciary issues requests to 81 people for documents and testimony in a pre-impeachment investigation into obstruction of justice and other alleged threats to the rule of law. So 60 documents, 81 new people. March 6th, Cohen finishes his testimony. March 22nd, the Mueller report is delivered to Attorney General William Barr. March 24th, 2 days later, according to Barr, the investigation did not find evidence to charge other Americans, including Trump associates, in conspiring with Russia in 2016, and did not come to a conclusion about obstruction of justice. End of story. March 27th, while the Congress is waiting for the Mueller report to drop, Rashida Tlaib introduces another resolution for impeachment, H-Res 257, calling for a formal impeachment investigation of the president, which was referred to the Committee on Rules. April 18th, the Mueller report is made public, in which he states that they considered obstruction of justice but made no charges because it wasn't for them to prove that. That's up to the Congress. Then we have the Mueller report, the impeachment debate that came after it. So much nonsense. And this lasted, I'm trying to see anything pertinent in here that will change anything that you know of already. Let's see. No, it's just talking about reactions to the Mueller report. So now impeachment resolutions in the 116th Congress. And since the beginning of this year now. H-Res 13, introduced March 1st by Brad Sherman, Democrat from California, impeaching Donald Trump, President of the United States, for high crimes and misdemeanors. H-Res 257, introduced March 27th of this year by Rashida Tlaib, Democrat from Michigan, inquiring whether the House of Representatives should impeach Donald Trump, President of the United States of America. Then there was H-Res 396, introduced on May 25th by Representative Sheila Jackson, Democrat of Texas, authorizing and directing the Committee of the Judiciary to investigate whether sufficient grounds exist for the House Representatives to exercise the power vested by Article 1, Section 2, Clause 5 of the Constitution in respect to acts of misconduct by Donald Trump, President of the United States. Then there's H-Res, there's more. H-Res 498, introduced July 17th of this year by, again, Representative Al Green, Democrat, Texas, and to impeach the President of the United States, Donald Trump, for high crimes and misdemeanors. So hearings and investigations from April to July of 2019. Listen to this. It's just a bullet pointed list. April 18th, Nadler says redacted Mueller report might necessitate impeachment. Might. April 19th, and see, they're announcing this stuff to the public. So the public go, it's already building up in the public's minds. They're not waiting to be done with anything. April 19th, House Judiciary Committee issues subpoenas demanding the unredacted report and its underlying evidence. April 22nd, House Judiciary Committee issues a subpoena for the former White House counsel, Don McGahn, to testify. April 23rd, President Trump issues an order retroactively asserting executive privilege over all testimony given to the special counsel by McGahn and others given subpoenas by the HJC. April 28th, Attorney General Barr threatens to boycott scheduled hearings, and Nadler threatens a subpoena if he does. May 2nd, Barr boycotts the hearings. May 8th, the House Judiciary Committee recommends Barr be held in contempt of court, or of Congress, in a 24-16 vote on the council for not complying with the subpoena. May 23rd, Representative Sheila Jackson, Democrat from Texas, introduces H-Res 396 for impeachment, referred to the Rules Committee. May 29th, Robert Mueller addresses the nation on the Russia probe, saying the Constitution requires a process other than criminal justice system to formally accuse a sitting president of any wrongdoing. June 3rd, the House Judiciary Committee announces a series of hearings related to the Mueller report, titled Presidential Obstruction and Other Crimes. June 4th, Barr offers to resume negotiations on testimony and materials if the HJC cancels the contempt citation. Former Trump aides Hope Hicks and Donaldson formally defy the HJC subpoenas. June 10th, the House Judiciary Committee hearing Lessons from the Mueller Report, Presidential Obstruction and Other Crimes, with John Dean. Just listen to what they title those. Lessons from the Mueller Report, Presidential Obstruction and Other Crimes. And they had John Dean, Joyce White Vance, Barbara McQuaid. June 11th, the vote on contempt citations are passed by the House against William Barr and McGahn. June 13th, Hope Hicks agrees to testify. June 19th, Hicks testifies, but spends 8 hours refusing to answer 155 questions. June 24th, Ann Donaldson agrees to testify before the HJC. June 25th, HJC subpoenas Robert Mueller and much of his staff, announcing they would testify. July 16th, Congressman Al Green, Democrat, Texas, introduced as a privileged resolution an article of impeachment. This third time this one had been brought in. It was to be set aside, voted to be set aside by the House in a 322 to 95 vote the next day. Then we had the Mueller hearings. We all know how that went. Now we move on to finally, we're at the formal impeachment hearings. In the late summer and fall of this year, the House Judiciary Committee holds a series of hearings and filed a number of lawsuits associated with drafting possible articles of impeachment. And so the start of the formal impeachment proceedings commences. Here we go, folks. And that gets us into what we're in today. In July of this year, House leadership agreed to quietly start formal impeachment proceedings without a formal vote on the matter. This assertion was repeated in another court filing in a suit seeking to compel the testimony of former White House counsel Don McGahn. Later that day, Jerry Nadler went on both CNN and MSNBC friendly stations and stated that proceedings had indeed begun and that impeachment hearings would begin in September. Politico reported that during August, Nadler and other majority members of the HJC, the House Judiciary Committee, had been drafting a formal document delineating the legal parameters of an official inquiry and that this would be voted on September 11th. The draft resolution was released to the public on September 9th and approval 2 days later. And then there's a whole nother thing we can start going through for the impeachment hearings themselves, which haven't really started in full swing. But you got the testimony of Lewandowski last week. The emoluments charge was looked at on September 23rd. The Ukraine, Pelosi agrees to proceedings. Whistleblower complaint, which, by the way, they have found that Adam Schiff, who said that he had no knowledge of the whistleblower's complaint, it's now been found that he had prior knowledge to the whistleblower's complaint and is probably behind the very formal legalese format in which the whistleblower's report was submitted, which is very unusual. And so you got the subpoenas, the lawsuits, the unredacted version of the Mueller report, Trump versus Mazars. The House Oversight Committee issued subpoenas to the Mazars accounting firm for Trump's financial information from before his election to the presidency. And the president and his lawyers have tried to delay or prevent the information from getting into the committee by seeking a court injunction. Trump versus Deutsche Bank. Suits filed by Trump opponents all over the place. Commentary and opinion statements by Trump. We all know those. We all hear those. We cover those. We talk about those. I'm not going to take more of your time to read those. And this goes on and on and on. Public opinion polling about impeachment and so on. Right now, additionally, NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll showed support for an impeachment inquiry into Trump at 49%, while 46% opposed it, with that 5% give or take. And so this just goes on. And now, folks, we're in the thick of it. Now we're going to see what happens next. So if you can see all the way through, this is without all the crap attached to it. These are all the legislative efforts taken place by the House of Representatives against Trump since the day he took office. And I started it last night. Tonight was just the second half, taking it from June 2017 up to present. You want to put them all together, go to last night's show and listen to the first half of all of that. Antone is looking at angles. So, or is it angels? So, yeah, it's bullshit. All right, Shane. This is ridiculous. Seems like they don't want him to run again, says Antone, and I have to agree with you. Thanks, Audrey. That's pretty much the meat of what I was going to talk about. This was all pre-recorded today, and it was so much more organic when I did it the first time. This time, just went through the information again. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you pulled some pertinent information out, that some of it is helpful. The only reason I took time on my show, which I'm not doing here as a show about politics per se, but I thought I would hit this historical civics about impeachment, and I spent 3 shows now, 3 hours talking about impeachment and what's led us up to this point in the current day. I think it's important for us to understand what impeachment is, what it does. That was the first of the 3 shows. I covered a lot of that. All it is an indictment of the president. Next, if they actually indict him, which they probably will do in the House, they'll vote to impeach him. He'll be impeached. More than likely, he'll be impeached. They've got the numbers to do it. But they're being very careful. They want to make sure they retain the numbers. So if that comes down to that vote, what's going to happen when certain politicians have to put their name to that vote? You might have some changeover. But it's going to go to the Senate, and the Senate will squash it, pretty much. Unless there is some kind of evidence we don't know about that shows Trump really actually did commit crimes and misdemeanors and violate the Constitution. And it's all been pretty much out in the open. So I don't think you're going to see anything different than you've seen. So the House will vote to impeach, and the Senate will squash the impeachment. Boom, done. Forever. So there you go. Thanks, Shane. Thanks, everybody, for being here. That's about all the juice I got tonight. I've been going since about 3 this morning and recorded this show quite a bit earlier today and had it posted. And had I known it wasn't going to play, I'd have reloaded it, reposted it. But not finding out till 3 minutes into showtime, I thought I'd just come on and go live. So thanks for being here. I'm trying to think if there's anything I need to pass on to you. No, not so far. So go visit my websites. Take a look at what I do over at scottallenroberts.com. Go take a look at our Son of a Patriot over on Etsy and look at our t-shirts and all that good stuff. That's how I make a living. So come and if you see anything there you like, pick it up. And folks, that's it. Thanks for being here. And once again, where do I have it? Oh, it's right here. I've got my my new Penman hat, and Rocky and I are going to start doing some promotions for John Penman, my friend, and maker of these fine fedoras and hats. Here, I'll flip that up for this so I don't get that light shadowing my eyes. So there you go. So go check out Penman Hats. That's penmanhats.com. You can see it right there. No, you can't on that one. penman.com or hats.com. And go check them out. Get a good lid for your head. It's good stuff. High quality, the best in the industry. And that's all I got to say for tonight. I don't think I have anything more. I don't think I have any juice left. It's now 9:25 or 10:25 Central Standard Time. In 35 minutes, join me with Rocky Stucci over on Rocky Stucci's Situation Room, right here on YouTube on Rocky Stucci Media is his channel. So we'll see you there. Have a good night. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being my audience. Means a lot to me. Talk to you soon. Good night.